When it comes to 4x4 dual cab utes, the Toyota HiLux and Isuzu D-MAX are heavyweight contenders. For 2023, they've both been updated. So let's check out the changes and see how they now match up. Let's get ready to rumble. We've lined up the Toyota HiLux SR5 against the Isuzu D-MAX LS-U Plus. Both are near the top of their respective model walks, offering a smidge of luxury and substantial carrying, towing and off-road capabilities. This 8th generation HiLux has been around since 2015, and while it's close to the end of its life, it still vies with the standard setting Ford Ranger for top sales billing. This 3rd generation D-MAX launched in 2020 and has been immensely popular ever since. The HiLux SR5 on test comes with an optional luxury pack including leather seats. The LS-U Plus is loaded down with more than $10,000 worth of extras including a roller cover and cargo carriers. Strip away all the extras and the HiLux has a price advantage of about $1,000 before on-road costs. The D-MAX has the longer warranty, but it's capped in terms of distance. However, it also has longer service intervals than the HiLux SR5. If you average out the capped price service cost per year, they are actually pretty close. You just have to visit your Toyota dealer more often. The HiLux exterior is absolutely familiar to anyone who ventures onto Aussie roads. SR5 identifiers include front LED headlights, fog lights and driving lights, side steps, this stainless steel sports bar and 18-inch alloy wheels. The D-MAX's 2023 update does include some exterior changes. The grille has been tweaked and the LS-U Plus gets this grey and chrome combo. There are also new design 18-inch alloy wheels, but otherwise it's pretty familiar stuff. Both the HiLux and the D-MAX come with big bore 4-cylinder turbo diesel engines mated with 6-speed automatic transmissions, 4x4 systems with low range gearing and locking rear diffs. The Toyota claims a worthy advantage in terms of power and torque and an ever so slight advantage in terms of fuel consumption. Jump in the HiLux and it's a bit of a dog's breakfast in here. There's bits and bobs that seem to be just tacked on and various trims spattered around. As a functional workspace for the driver, the HiLux makes more sense. It's got reach and rake adjustable steering, a sizable left footrest and a big front seat, although power adjustment is optional and should be standard at this price. The speedo and tacho graphics are large, but you just can't read them in direct sunlight. A double glove box is a handy feature of the HiLux and there is a cooling function in the top one. The HiLux also has bins and bottle holders in all 4 doors and a lidded bin between the front seats. The HiLux comes with this 8-inch touchscreen that looks like it's just been tacked as an afterthought onto the dashboard, but at least it comes with these handy push buttons and rotating dials to make operation simple. The Toyota system includes embedded sat-nav and Bluetooth streaming as well. There's also Apple and Android smartphone compatibility, but there's no wireless connection or charging. New for 2023 is a 360-degree overview camera as well as a reversing camera. The only problem is the screen's pretty small, so the view is pretty small and the resolution makes it pretty grotty as well. There are parking sensors front and rear, but no hands or feet free parking assistance. The D-MAX is a bit better resolved in its interior and dashboard styling and design than the HiLux, but it's still pretty dark and conservative in here. The steering wheel in the D-MAX also adjusts for rake and has more reach than the HiLux. The driver does get a power adjustable seat trimmed in leather and the instruments are clear and simple. but the left footrest is small and set at an odd angle. Just like the HiLux, the D-MAX has a double glove box, but it misses out on the cooling function. It also offers door bins in all 4 doors, although the rears are pretty small. There is a little bin between the seats. The D-MAX's 9-inch touchscreen is slightly larger than the HiLux's, but the presentation is just plain unimpressive. Things seems to be thrown at the screen randomly. And the operation is only via push buttons, which are harder to operate on the run when you're trying to adjust something like volume. Thankfully though, there are volume buttons on the steering wheel. Thankfully, the D-MAX offers both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto connectivity, because the standard system is a bit clunky to use. Like the HiLux, there's no wireless charging or connection of smartphones. Despite charging the big bucks, the D-MAX makes do without an overview 360-degree camera. You just get a reversing camera for manoeuvring. And you only get rear parking sensors in the D-MAX, and again, no hands or feet-free parking assistance. Overall, it's very similar between these two when it comes to interior presentation features and tech. Neither are class leading. To be frank, the Ford Ranger makes them seem pretty ancient. The amount of standard safety tech these two have is laudable and a far cry from utes of not so long ago. The HiLux has been boosted further for 2023 with blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert. It even comes with a 3-year complimentary subscription to Toyota Connected Services, which includes automatic collision notification amongst a number of features. The D-MAX adds tyre pressure monitoring for 2023, a feature the HiLux misses out on. Both vehicles have a 5-star ANCAP rating, the D-MAX from 2022 and the HiLux based on superseded 2019 protocols. If you're sitting 180cm adult behind 180cm adult in the back of the HiLux, that's 6-footer behind 6-footer in the old language, folks, then you're gonna find it squeezy, especially for knee space. There's more knee room in the rear seat of the Isuzu than the Toyota. If you're gonna transport people regularly in the back seat of one of these two, make it the D-MAX. And so to the load areas, the HiLux claims more length and a wider maximum width, but if you don't option that roller cover, the D-MAX takes more payload. Neither truck will fit an Aussie pallet between the wheel arches. The HiLux bed is pretty basic, no liner and no lighting. The D-MAX also misses out on lighting for the load area, but you do get a standard drop-in bed liner. All right, let's go for a drive and see how the pair compare. We're going to drive them unladen, we're going to drive them with 650 kilos on board, and we're going to go off-road. Let's get into it. First drive impressions of the HiLux are good. It feels up and about and ready to get on with things. A lot of that is down to the engine, which is energetic with or without a load on board. Sure, loading up 650 kilos slows it down, but it still copes well. Unladen, the HiLux is pretty stiff in the rear end, but it does handle and steer with some nimbleness. Add the weight and it's noticeably more nose up and ponderous. The disc drum brake combo also has to work harder to get the job done. Adding weight definitely settles the rider of the HiLux down. It's not bad unladen, but it definitely copes with speed humps and road lumps better laden. By the standards of the ute class, the HiLux is reasonably refined. It really only starts to get raucous when you push the engine harder. And that's what happens when you put a load on board. Considering how closely they spec up in terms of chassis and suspension, it's surprising how different the D-MAX feels to the HiLux when you set off for a drive. Its engine isn't as crisp and lively, but its electric assist steering is much lighter at low speed, making the vehicle feel that much more wieldy. Yep, you never feel like you're getting the same towy response from the D-MAX as you do from the HiLux. With or without 650 kilograms on board, you're always into the throttle harder in the Isuzu to get going. The D-MAX is a better handler than the HiLux. Unladen, it hasn't got as much reactivity in the rear, and when you add weight, it settles more evenly across the axles. It's better balanced. As a result of that, the D-MAX edges the HiLux for ride quality. It's not night and day, but it does feel more comfortable overall. The D-MAX engine is not only slow revving, it's quite chatty about it in the process. Yeah, you definitely hear it. But it does the job, if not quite with the same enthusiasm as the Toyota. Okay, so let's off-road. And what we've got here are two classics of the dual cab 4x4 ute genre. Steel bodies, bolted to ladder frame chassis, double wishbone front suspension, leaf springs at the rear with rigid axles. In the powertrain, 6-speed autos that can be manipulated manually, part-time 4x4 system, low range gearing, off-road traction control, and a rear diff lock. Now these two vehicles come equipped standard with highway terrain tyres, which means the slimy tracks at our off-road test course here could be a bit of a challenge. Let's go and find out. So across our off-road obstacles, the HiLux SR5 proved to be the easier vehicle to operate. And that's because its off-road traction control settings helped negotiate tough challenges. The D-MAX's traction control wasn't as smart. The Isuzu required low range and the stiff locked more often. It could go as far as the Toyota, it just needed more mechanical aids to get there. Both of them had good traction despite their highway rubber, and only occasionally grazed their side steps and undersides on the lumps and yumps. We've given the D-MAX's engine some stick for being a bit slow-witted, but it really impresses in terms of fuel economy, consistently and clearly ahead of the HiLux unladen or unladen, as these figures show. Overall, this is a clear running costs advantage for the Isuzu. Wrap it all up, and these are two classic dual cab 4x4 utes to drive. A bit rough around the edges, but also earnest hard workers. The D-MAX is just that bit better resolved on-road, while the HiLux has the edge off-road. Gotta say though, the Ford Ranger is better overall and more refined to drive than either of them. And so to our verdict, well, it's not that easy. These two vehicles are close in so many ways: price, performance, payload, safety gear and cabin appointments. But the D-MAX is just that bit more compelling. It's got a fuel economy advantage, its spacious cabin is an important asset as well, it drives that little bit better, and it's got a couple of equipment additions that tip the contest its way. However, I reckon neither the HiLux or the D-MAX's changes for 2023 do enough to knock the Ford Ranger out of its position as our favourite ute. Look, if you're going to spend big bucks on a 4x4 dual cab, then sure, consider the D-MAX, consider the HiLux, but add the Ford Ranger to your shopping list as well. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more videos, and let us know what you think in the comments below.